Welcome, everyone, to the 5th edition of Paradigm Drift. My name is Anastasia.
I'm Shiloh.
And this is the show where we search for the theories that are going to change the world. Normally, we have gone out into the world and we have searched for the theories ourselves. And in this case, we have collected you here tonight together, and you will be bringing us the theories of the world. So for anyone who hasn't been here before, the way that this show runs is that I have a hat, which I've dropped, and the hat is full of names.
And we will be randomly pulling people's names out of this hat. And the way it works is you get 60 seconds, which we will put on a clock up here to present your idea. And your goal should really be not to explain the entire idea in 60 seconds, which is absurd, but you should intrigue us with the most tantalizing pieces of your theory so that we want to bring you back. And maybe we'll bring you back next time. You won't even have to sign up. Maybe if you kill, we will bring you back for an entire 3-hour podcast, which would be sick. Hasn't happened yet, but I believe it might happen tonight. After 60 seconds, you will hear the sound of a gong, which will tell you that your time is up. Sounds like this.
It's actually, you'll first hear...
Oh, yes, you will hear the beepings, too.
So first you'll hear the beep.
Thanks. I'm glad somebody knows what's going on here.
Well, I do my best. And then, afterwards, if you keep going, you will then hear the gong.
Come on. There it is.
Technical difficulties.
It's not a real gong, obviously.
It's not a real
unfortunately.
gong.
Although we're working towards that. Sign up over at patreon.com to fund the new gong project.
Use one of the symbols?
Not a gong, man.
That's not a gong. Okay, the symbol hit is insufficiently dramatic for the purpose. All right.
Otherwise, those are the rules. That's the plan. We have a very special guest on the panel tonight to help us evaluate your ideas. One of the smartest, most analytic people that we know at the moment on the planet Earth, which is our friend Michael Hughes. He's been on the podcast a few times. He just published his first magnum opus. It has been accepted for publication. He's been developing these water ideas for a couple of years now on the podcast. It's been freaking awesome to see this happen. And here is the victorious Michael Hughes to join us. How you doing, Michael?
Doing good. Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here and hear everyone's ideas.
Heck yeah. So
the way that this is going to work is that we are going to pull names from this hat that has almost 40 participants in it.
Record number of participants tonight.
So this is very, very good. And before each contestant comes on, we are going to tell whoever is on deck that they are on deck. And so for right now, on deck, we have Samuel Ferrer. There's a Samuel in here. Hopefully it is the correct Samuel.
Samuel Guest, is that you?
Samuel Guest. Hopefully it is the correct. Excellent. All right, so what we're going to do is when it is your turn, we are going to bring you into the room. You should make sure that your camera and your microphone are functional before we bring you in. So when we tell you that you are on deck in the background while you are still just an attendee, test your camera, test your microphone. If you spend more than 30 seconds fumbling, figuring out how to turn things on when you come in as a speaker, we're going to have to move along because we have a lot of people in this hat and we want to get through as many of them as humanly possible. But, as part of the tradition for this show, before we have our speakers, before we have Samuel Ferrer, our first theorist of the night, we are going to have a regular. And so our first regular of the night is plasma theorist extraordinaire, Austin Bollinger.
All right, guys, let's give Austin a big round of applause. How about that, eh? Guys, come on, put your hands together for Austin Bollinger.
I got a minute on the clock.
She's already got the minute on the clock, and so here we go. Let's count them in. 1, 2, 3, hit it.
Howdy, thanks for having me. first off, I gotta say it's been an amazing life, and there's actually things I can't talk about now at the moment. So I think I'll go over self-organization and why that's the most important thing to understand in basically all of physics, is because plasma inherently wants to ball up. We see this in clouds, we see this in spark discharges. And as a welder, it's very common to see little sparks fly off in little sparks. It's literally like welders hold the most advanced technology on the planet through pulsed spark discharges. And I want to read this here. I want to read off some names. Paulo and Alexandra Correa, Orest Bedri and Harold Aspidin, and then a whole bunch of military guys that you guys should look into. I'll read those off later, I guess. But by producing sustainable pulsations in a cold cathode vacuum tube, I'm all over the place.
Alrighty. All right.
All right, Austin. Not quite fully a theory.
Guys, let's give him a hand. Come on.
All right. Golf clap.
All right.
I just want to say all of physics is about energy, and trees and plants are obviously self-organizing and harnessing fusion energy. It is quite the a redundant thing to say, but it's obvious that things grow naturally. And I'm in love with the electric universe. That's kind of my go-to thing as far as cosmology goes. And it's at the fundamental level, you have to treat everything holistically and energetically, right? That goes from the sun, like you guys have been discussing recently, to every single atom. Now, I'll say this right now. There's so many different ways to change the world. Self-organization is the best way because it applies to politics, energy, physics, science. It applies to everything.
Yeah, man, I might pick one of those in the future and attack it. Like, if you come back and do another one of these minutes, it'd be cool to, like, if you picked politics and talk about self-organization principle as it being self-similar to the rest of the universe, that'd be pretty interesting. I think any one of these examples would be interesting.
This is true.
I just wanted to read, holy smoke, so much has gone on recently. This is from a classified book. The most work has been done for the case of a perfect fluid conductor for which all dissipative terms vanish. This can be expected to be a good approximation for a highly conducting fluid and large-scale motion outside of dissipation zones like boundary layers and shock waves. Basically, superfluidity is self-organizing in some sense, as is water on Earth. It's practically a room temperature superfluid. And if we could harness the water cycle to be a fuel cycle, oh my God, we'd have unlimited abundant energy like our ancestors obviously did, because you can't make pyramids and mega structures in consumerism. It just doesn't work. Obviously, everything today we make is planned to be obsolete. So,
make steampunk great again. Michael, what do you got over there?
I was wondering how you thought that water and superfluids were self-similar, and that's my own personal interest, right? I also was kind of curious, you're talking about self-organization and the accretion of all these like clouds, all these objects. From my understanding, that the average physicist might attribute this to gravity or something like this, but you're proposing something else is going on, right? For self-organization.
What if gravity is emergent?
I think it is. I mean, in the sense of like you have to have lots of things to get gravity.
Exactly, but you don't need lots of things. You just need a density
of things, presumably doing something.
Well,
it's like I actually wanted to,
charge, spin.
Yeah.
There's 4 different ways to get to the atmosphere super efficiently. One's lightning, one's clouds, one's electricity, and one's balloons. If we combine all 4, we make UFOs.
Whoa.
And tornadoes.
Good Lord. God, there's so many threads happening. Austin, where are you from, man? Where are you at right now?
I just moved to Oklahoma City.
Nice. How's Oklahoma this time of year?
Well, no.
You got a lot of electricity out there, from what I understand.
Really?
Yeah, they got crazy storms. Oh my God! If you ever want to see a storm,
no idea. Yeah.
Have you seen any good stuff this year?
My life's changed completely. I literally can't talk about some things. That's why I'm kind of like, what do I even talk about? I wanted to go over some, my buddy sent me a list of the engineers he's been going through. His name's Tom Hudson on X. And you guys need to look into Leek Myrabo, John Matkins, Nathan C. Price, James Woodward, Thomas Manhood, Mark Lusk,
Thomas Manhood, what a
Allen,
name.
Arthur Kantrowitz.
All right, Austin, we're going to have to...
We're going to move it along, man.
20
But yeah, maybe pick one of those. Remember, guys,
problem, solution, and the link between them. This is what is the marker of a good theory.
That would be a good theory, yeah. Problem, a solution, and...
the link between them.
The link between them, absolutely. All right, guys, let's give him a hand, and let's keep this evening going. We are off to a very interesting start. Come on, Austin.
Right, thank you, Austin.
Thank you, Austin. All right, guys, let's welcome Samuel to this stage. Come on, guys, come on. Give him a hand.
All right, and we got Ken Metcalf on deck after Samuel. We have a minute on the clock.
And yeah, we're going to count you in on 3. So tell us the problem, tell us the solution, and tell us how your theory addresses the problem. 1, 2, 3, hit it.
What if quantum mechanics didn't need complex numbers or even quantum computers? Muscle mechanics. Is this the new way to model reality? Here, quantum states are muscle carriers or vectors with structure. They capture amplitude, uncertainty, and interference all at once. Matrix mechanics is good enough. Collapse is just measurement. No wave functions, no qubits, just linear algebra. No more space-time debate, just observe and measure. It is time to simply compute.
Simply compute. All right, hey guys, give him a hand. Come on, guys, let's give him a hand.
All right, Samuel, we came in under time. Excellent. Welcome. So you're suggesting that we replace everything with matrix mechanics?
Yes.
So is this, did you come to this by, like, watching large language models and AI?
No, Terror, actually, this is the way this is the model I plan to use to compute metrics in the system I developed, because I am developing a new networking technology, on top of which I will develop systems. I'm a software developer, by the way. Graduated in Cuba in the 80s, and that's all I do. But my interest, my basic interest is to apply physics to develop computer systems.
And the other way around too, it sounds like.
Yeah, but the other way around, I'm not so interested, because this direction is not the one that is the one that it hasn't been explored or shown anyway.
Interesting.
So that's the reason why I'm so interested, because computational physics, everybody knows about it, but how to apply all those more than 300 years of physics in order to develop stable standard systems.
What are the biggest problems in software development for you? Like what is the future? What is the dream future of the computer sphere?
The basic problem is the lack of definitions. The tons of lack of definition. Starting from the event from the Turing machine, that is not even well defined.
The Turing machine.
Sorry?
You said the Turing machine is not well defined?
That's you.
Sorry.
Well-defined answer. Okay.
So what is that? I didn't totally understand. What is the problem that we're solving? Is this like everything in physics is solved with
Yes,
this?
yes, I tell you now. I'm not trying to stop. I'm not trying to find the unifying theory for the universe. I'm trying to find. I'm trying to find the unifying theory to develop systems. And systems there is a well-defined. There is a definition for systems that come from the Forrester and Miro from the 60s, and then define system as a collection of.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Hey, Michael, where are you at with this? Is this making sense to you?
So I was trying to follow along with systems as well. So I assume that system is kind of a mathematical concept that's well defined, and so you're trying to generalize this concept in a way that's useful.
No. Let me correct. A system is a collection of. It's a collection of things that try to collaborate in order to reach a purpose. They have a purpose. That is the standard definition of systems. From Forrester, from J. Forrester, from the 60s. This is system thinking. That definition comes from system thinking, and that's the very that is one of the very start points when I try to define everything else using this muscle mechanics.
All right, Samuel. What I would do if you ever want to do this again, I think we should come back and be like, this is the problem. The problem is that these concepts are ill-defined, and what I'm going to do is I think we should address them in this way in the future. That's what I would say to you. I would love to see you come back, sign up again. We're going to keep it moving along because there's 40 people in this bucket, but thank you for coming by and sharing. Everybody, let's give him a round of applause. Thank you congratulations, first time on Paradigm Drift. There it is.
Yes.
We're going to keep it.
And Eric Ryder is on
I've heard that name before.
deck.
Guys, give, who do we got here? Ken. Give Ken a round of applause, guys. Come on. All right, Ken, we're going to put a minute on the clock. There it is. You will have 1 minute to tell us what the freaking problem is, what the solution is, and link them together for us. So we're going to count you in on 1, 2, 3. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Hit us.
The problem is we need a major paradigm shift. We're stuck in limbo and thinking everything the same way. And my paradigm shift is like beyond just this world. We need to rethink how we think about existence. From a very high level, everything is models. Everything is modeling. Everything within the universe is modeling all the time. Recursive modeling. As a quick solution, imagine your brain sitting inside a skull. It's receiving tons and tons of information. How does it handle all that? It models everything. Carl Friston and Neil Seth, lots of people talk about these kinds of things, but it's much more than that. But it creates the sense of self. How does you create a model of models that manages all of that? That's what self is. That's why we have a self. It's pulling all this information together and putting it into useful processes, models.
All right. There it is. All right. A somewhat coherent idea there. That's fantastic. I mean, it's a relief. I can't tell if that was an awesome presentation or if the other two were just completely incoherent, but I think I actually understand what you're getting at.
Do you?
A little bit.
All right.
At least it would follow from A to B. I'm not sure it's an entire theory, but the idea of the self as a model of models actually stuck with me.
The self as a model. So, is our models bad? Are our models good? Do we just need another model to add into the pile of models?
Everything is models. You are modeling the modeling thinking. Models are models. Some are more useful than others, and they link right back to the existence of this universe. For instance, when the universe started, it was just, well, we really don't know, but let's say it's some kind of homogeneous amount of information or whatever it was. How did it turn into the universe we have? How did we get this wonderful diversity we have? Something had to happen, and that what happened was a modeling process, and that modeling process looks to be highly fractal in nature.
Do you have to have a modeler to have a modeling process?
You need to think a paradigm shift. Everything is models. You are modeling, your hair is modeling, the rocks are modeling, life is modeling. This universe is a model of modeling. We are one aspect of it.
Good Lord, everything, yeah. I thought I understood things, but now I'm lost.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. This is the paradigm shift we have to understand.
Michael Hughes, what do you got over it? Hold on one second.
Started.
Hold on, Ken. Hold on, Ken. I want to hear from Michael.
Or I was kind of curious if this is like a Platonic idea, and so and there's some inherentness in this like modeling, and you're drawing a lot of attention to this meta awareness of models, and I'm wondering if humans have a particular like privileged position in this, or if it's different in nature, or how you see this and how all these models are working together with each other.
Well, we, in our planet and where we are, we're modeling, and we have a privilege on this planet in this environment, but don't limit it to that. Everything is modeling, and they're all recursive models. They're all modeling upon modeling. Although we turn around and think we have a self and we have one center of modeling, that's just a model. Everything is models. That may or may not be true. It's a very useful model. But
Stassi's got a question.
What can you define model?
Yeah, that's probably useful at this point.
Modeling is accumulating information and summarizing it into a useful form.
Okay, so if everything is models, that means that everything is the accumulation of information and putting it together into useful form?
Well, models are information, and it's recursive. So the models are recursive, be creating more models upon more models, and the complexity and the diversity in the universe exists because of that.
I feel like I'm in one of those Pink Floyd album covers right now. Like the infinite.
It's an entire paradigm shift the way you look at everything. If you look around, and I've been trying to do this for some time, at everything and think everything is just modeling. I don't know what the underlying reality is.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but like I want to understand how a rock model, like how is a rock a model, or how is I'm not even going to go to the atomic level, but how about a molecule or something?
Well, you're anthropomorphizing it. The rock is a model. It's not.
What does that mean though? Like the rock is also a rock.
I want to put handles on that statement.
When you pick up a rock and you look at the rock, you are modeling in your brain, your information, what that is.
That's true. That's true.
Model.
Okay,
I see. But that requires
a model of something.
That requires a me though to do that, right?
A modeler.
For your modeling, correct? Yes.
But is the rock making a model in your view of this situation?
If you look at the rock as a singular finite terminal thing, you can't think of it that way. It's part of the universe, and the universe is modeling. Everything is modeling. How did that rock come to be? It was a modeling process. And when you look at it, you think that is some objective reality, that rock. No, it's information, it's energy or whatever that has created that and is happening. And it's not idle. It's just very static in our temporal sense.
All right.
So are these? Oh yeah.
Go ahead, Michael.
So how do agents share models, or how are we agreeing about this rock from different modelers' points of view, right? Because the rock only exists in my head as my perception of it, but Shiloh also has a perception. How do these two talk to each other, in your view?
Yeah, that is the important part of this paradigm shift, because now you're asking the questions that are important from that paradigm shift. What is it? I mean, how are we exchanging that? How are we doing these modeling? That gets us out of linear thinking, out of going down the same path all the time. We have to think back that there's modeling going on, and we're only viewing it from our own models and other people's models.
All right, Ken, if people want to, do you have any of this written up anywhere? You got a website? You hanging out on TikTok or anything crazy like that? You don't look like the TikTok.
You're the first person to ask me to 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 write that down. I'm struggling getting it down because I'm not a very good writer.
Writing is hard.
Writing is very
Writing is really hard, but it's a good chance to work these out and sort of challenge yourself with this.
Yeah,
the question.
I have written some stuff down,
All right.
bits and pieces and scattered, but I haven't brought anything together.
All right, well, sign up again, man. I'd like to develop this a little bit more. Myself as a model of models is something I will be contemplating in the days to come. But yeah, thank you so much, Ken. We're going to keep it moving.
As Anil Seth says, you're a beast machine.
A beast machine.
All right,
Hell yeah, I don't even know what to do with that.
Beast
All right, thank you.
Models and models. Eric Ryder, you are up. And then after you, we have Jeff Starman.
Guys, give Ken a round of applause, and we will keep it going. Somebody else.
Alright, ready? Alright, so Eric Ryder appears to be having some technical issues, so we have gone ahead and pulled Jeff. Jeff, welcome.
Guys, give Jeff a round of applause. Come on.
Alright.
We're gonna count you in on 3, so just hold tight. Wait for the audience to chill out a little bit. All right, thank you, guys.
Ready? Alright. 3, 2, 1, hit it.
For over a century, our search for a unified theory has gone down the rabbit holes of relativity, black holes, dark matter and energy, and string theory. None actually proven, yet theories presented as truth, focused on laws that measure values while ignoring an ever-changing universe, constructs attempting to explain observations while leaving fundamental questions unanswered. It's time to return to the drawing board. We need to explain a space of 3 dimensions, the directionality of time, the nature of mass, the speed of light, and how life emerges in an entropic universe. By generalizing the idea of quantization to a concept of bounded infinities, having both finite and infinite aspects, then building a fractal universe, we have 7 scales: the ether, electromagnetism, atomic, molecular, plants, animals, and humans. At each level exists a unique expression of a set of fundamental processes: translation, rotation, incorporation, growth, connection, order, and freedom. It is what I call an evolutionary cosmology.
All right, come on, guys, give me a hand. Come on. All right, Jeff. Good Lord, there's a number of things there. You had me at we need a 3D physics. I was absolutely ready to endorse your book immediately.
You know how long it took me to get that down to 1 minute?
Hell yeah! That's what it's all about, man. That's what this is for. You're welcome.
So, an evolutionary cosmology. Is this different from the cosmology that already exists?
Well, I haven't heard a cosmology that explains some of the things that I talk about. Like, why do we live in a world of 3 dimensions? And even what do we mean by dimension?
That is a really important point.
Do you have
Michael was about to say something.
Because I've heard other people open up with dimension, I have to know what we mean by dimension.
There it
I'm
is.
curious.
To me, a dimension is an independently varying measure. So quite simply, I have width, I have depth, and I have height. And all of them can vary independently. And I take that and expand it into what I call a bounded infinity. And here's a simple bounded infinity, a circle, right? And you can create a circle with 3 non-collinear points. And so I believe our 3 dimensions create bounded infinities in what we call the universe.
God, I need my friend
So does
Matthew
this
Fox
relate
here
to
to
those-
help me understand this.
Does that relate to your hierarchy of 7? So you gave us 7 things: the ether, EM, atomic molecules, plants, animals, humans.
So now we take that to the next level. And if we have 3 dimensions of independence, what if we start to constrain them, right? So what I call the ether is unbounded. It's completely free. But let's introduce a first level of constraint. We'll constrain one of the dimensions, and I call that electricity and magnetism. And here's the constraint: the speed of light. Right?
That's it.
Now we go up another level and introduce a second constraint, and we have the atomic level. Here's a huge mistake that modern physics makes. They treat the proton as a fundamental particle. It's
Agreed.
not. It's hydrogen without
Agreed.
an electron.
Like,
It's the
but-
next scale up.
Yeah, what the hell is an electron? Is the next obvious question there.
Yeah, so this is where you have to get into, and I haven't delved into the depth of what are the expressions within the electromagnetic scale. Well, we know we have an electric field. We know we have a magnetic field. We know we have light. I believe neutrinos fit into that realm. And I believe that the electron fits into that realm.
This is getting super technical very fast. Jeff, I love that you're thinking about this stuff. Who are you, man? Where are you from? Where are you at right now?
I live in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Nice. How you like it? How long you been there?
Anastasia, we met at the Renewal of Science Conference.
Certainly did.
There it is. All right.
And, yeah, I mean, my background is I was a software engineer for 35 years. I got into the work, and I've shared this with you, Shiloh, of Arthur M. Young.
Where did you share this? On some online place?
Yeah, he wrote a couple of books, The Reflexive Universe, where he talks about scale and the geometry of meaning. And
What's your wait, hold on one second, Simon. Where are you at? Is this on Discord or something, or is this on Facebook? Or
no,
Where you shared it?
Yeah.
Facebook.
Where did I talk to you? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Good to know. Okay, and what's your name on Facebook?
Jeff Parrott.
Oh, okay. There it is. All right. I didn't see your last name doesn't show up on my Zoom screen. So
Yeah,
okay.
I keep my first name in my Zoom, and it wouldn't let me change it once I got into the group.
It's all
So
good. We all know now, and Parrot won't be easy to forget. So I got it. Okay, Michael, what do you got, man?
I thought that was a cool idea of you adding the constraints to this different thing. So now let's zoom up a little bit. And so humans, you stopped the scale at humans. Is it on purpose there, or just go bigger? Yeah.
I had that same question.
I'm going to go yes and no, Michael. So let's
All right, excellent.
let's continue the scale, right? So we've now constrained the system in 2 dimensions, and we get the atomic scale, right? We constrain it in a 3rd dimension, and we get the molecular scale. We now have a fully constrained system. Okay. Now we're going to start to release the constraints, and here we have life, right? And we get the scale of plants.
So life isn't constrained by the speed of light.
Pause that. Let me get to Michael's answer first. We release the 2nd dimension, and we get the scale of animals. When we fully release the 3rd dimension, we get the scale of human beings.
And you think there's anything above human beings?
Well, in terms of scales, yes. There's the planetary scale, there's the heliocentric scale, there's the solar system, the galaxy, the cosmic web, and the universe. So there are 6 scales above and 6 scales below. And we've often heard the as above, so below. I think of it as within, as without. And what sits at the center of that scale is human consciousness.
I'm a little bit lost. Are you lost?
I mean, there's a lot of pieces going on here. That's why I was hoping you'd. Have you laid this out on a website or something like that? Did I ask you that already?
I have
No.
not.
Okay. That might be a good, like a blog or something.
I think, okay, so one of the things that I think works really well for these theories is to like shorten the scope.
Constrain them, would you say?
Constraints are good. I think that it's really hard to explain everything all at once. And so there's like basically at every point you have made a list of claims, and each one of those claims could probably warrant a 60-second presentation as lead-in. I think that everybody should view these as being a process, right? Like, you don't have to explain your entire worldview in 60 seconds. I think it's enough to just come back like month after month and just gradually expose us to this complete picture where you start from the piece that's most compelling and then work your way up to the theory of everything. Because it's just, I really struggle with theories of everything. I'm like, what does this mean?
There's a different YouTube channel for that kind of thing. But yeah, I think we should, I think I love that. I can tell your mind works really carefully, and I can see your gears turning, and I love that. I love seeing that spirit in someone. I would love to see you constrain this down to some smaller piece and bring it back neck time and develop that out a little bit more. But,
absolutely.
Otherwise, yeah, Jeff, thank you so much, man. Congratulations. Welcome to Paradigm Drift, and we are gonna
back again.
Guys, give Jeff a round of applause. Come on, guys. Come on.
And we got RedTailedHawk on deck. Jeff, we will see you later. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.
It looks like we are in for a treat. There's a bookcase. The bookcase is covered with exhibits. A shirt that says "Be the Change." RedTailedHawk, you have 1 minute on the clock. I'm gonna count you in. 3, 2, 1. Hit it.
Sarcophagi were not primarily used as stone coffins. They were used as sensory deprivation tanks to induce theta neural oscillations in initiates' brains for 3 main purposes: past life memory exploration, healing, and initiation. Kids are in a theta dominant state from about 2 to 7 years old. Dr. Ian Stevenson's research shows that kids in that age range naturally have past life memories. Hypnosis subjects are put into theta wave states. Dolores Cannon's past life regression hypnotherapy seems to second Stevenson's work. Each suggests theta waves are key to the Akashic records. Healing is theorized to occur in the King's Chamber in the pyramid at Giza and function in manners consistent with Qigong, Reiki, the placebo effect, etc. Initiation took place in the Queen's Chamber and is the legitimate origin of the baptism ritual, activation of the Ba, aka a Kundalini awakening. A full Kundalini awakening is enlightenment. Itzhak Bentov wrote, frequencies of about 4 or 7 hertz may be able to trigger a spontaneous physio-Kundalini experience. Those values fall squarely into the theta frequency range. For reference, Bentov's biomedical models were key to the gateway experience research. Magnesium sulfate used in sensory deprivation solution was most likely refined from basalt using chemicals Jeffrey Drum thinks they were manufacturing in ancient Egypt. With these connections demonstrated between enlightenment, chemistry, baptism, and ancient Egyptian buildings, this is likely the core that ties Egypt, alchemy, and chemistry together.
Holy moly. Come on, guys. All right. That was a torrent. My goodness.
Well done.
RedTailedHawk has arrived at the Paradigm Drift world.
Okay, so these are sensory deprivation tanks. You have
The sarcophagi.
the sarcophagi inside the pyramids. How did you get here? Not to here, to the theory.
I started researching Kundalini about 30 months ago, and that started with an encounter with a medicine man, an unsought encounter involving a palm reading and a naming. I'd solved a almost 53-month-long personal mystery at that point in time that led me down this path.
Hold on. What's the personal mystery?
I experienced a Kundalini awakening in September 12th of 2018. It was while I was driving down the highway at like 70 miles an hour on a very stressful day involving a hurricane about to make landfall with someone I loved very much who had every reason to be extremely depressed that day. And, let the hurricane just take away her every worry.
What is a Kundalini awakening?
Activation of higher chakras. A full awakening would be the rainbow body that Tibetans talk about. Haitians talk about Ada Wedo, the rainbow serpent. When you see serpent symbolism everywhere, Kundalini means coiled in Sanskrit, and it's referring to the spark of the divine that's coiled 3.5 times, according to both the Greeks and the Hindus, around the root chakra. The Greeks depict it with the Orphic egg, but it's, I think, depicting the root chakra.
And so what are Michael, go ahead.
I'm fascinated by, the roadmap and how you've connected all these ideas, weaving together alchemy, ancient history, all these super interesting topics. And it strikes me that you've had this really personal experience with inspiring you to dive into this, right? And so on Paradigm Drift, I'm kind of curious of, is this an attempt of you trying to share these ideas, how we can rebuild this extremely interesting experience you had in other people, or what it's like, are you trying to connect with this process?
I think that there's a lot of strife in the world, and that perspective that unites many different traditions could help bring resolution to a lot of that.
Completely agreed on my end.
Can we ask about the exhibits?
Yeah. So this one is a study on polysomnographic observations and subjective experiences under sensory deprivation. It links sensory deprivation to theta waves to altered states of consciousness. This one is about the development of theta and alpha neural oscillations from ages 3 to 24 years, confirming what I said about Dr. Ian Stevenson's research with kids having past life memories in that same age range. This is talking about theta waves as being pertinent to hypnosis. I know, by the way, you did the Silva thing, Anastasia, and they had you listen to that sound that was meant to induce theta states. So that is probably also, pertinent in some way. This is just some covers of Dolores Cannon's work, and, that relates to the hypnosis and the past life memory components. This is Itzhak Dentov's appendix from his book, where he talks about how magnetic fields applied to the head of about 4 or 7 hertz can cause spontaneous Kundalini awakenings. This is the gateway experience research that calls out Dentov's biomedical models as being significant. The gateway experience is pertinent to remote viewing and all that stuff. This is from James Churchward's The Lost Continent of Mu, where he verifies in his own way that adepts were placed inside of sarcophagi, and when they came out of it, they had some increased sense of conviction in the doctrine of reincarnation. This is the Tree of Life from Kabbalah, which on here is a Sephiroth called Da'ath, which is morphologically equivalent to death. So I think the mistranslation that sarcophagi were primarily used as burial vessels stems from an esoterically uninformed translation of Da'ath, of these emblems of mortality. It's talking about the dark night of the soul, born again, the phoenix rising from its own ashes. There's a number of esoteric concepts from across different traditions that point to this.
So there's also some in the modern Christian tradition, right? Do you have thoughts on why this isn't taught in this day and age as you kind of propose it to us? Or how do you come across this material that you share?
I was a teacher at a learning center where we focused on looking at things from each student's perspective in order to reach them as individuals as best as we possibly could. So I'm used to trying to look at things from others' perspectives. And so I perhaps am well practiced in placing myself into the perspectives of the Greeks, of the Egyptians, of the Chinese, of whoever it is I'm trying to, profile, I guess.
Okay, so were you trying to have a Kundalini awakening when you had it happen to you on the highway?
I didn't even know what it was.
So what did it feel like? What was the actual experience that you had?
Pins and needles. It was like that throughout my entire body, but very intensely for about 10 or 15 seconds, coupled with involuntary mudras. I was unable to bend my fingers down to grasp the steering wheel at the time. It hurt to do so. I was agnostic, leaning deist at the time, but as soon as that was done, I leaned forward and screamed through the windshield, what do you want from me? Because now in retrospect, I realized that I had just sort of had a moment of surrender. I knew I couldn't do anything. This situation was halfway across the country. So there was no way I was going to be able to do anything, and I had to surrender. So it was that moment of surrender, I think, that triggered it.
And so how did you figure out that it was a Kundalini awakening?
Have you ever seen the symbolism pertaining to predator birds and serpents?
I mean, in the sense that I've seen hawks carrying snakes.
That's where the predator bird name is coming from in the Native American tradition. It's an homage to sort of the feather of Ma'at in Egypt, the idea of light as a feather, enlightenment. A lot of predator bird symbolism around the world, you'll find the bird is clutching something serpentine, like a ribbon. The serpent has been obfuscated out for reasons we probably don't have time to get into.
Well, we can do that one next time. Okay, so I have one last question, which is, how did you get from your own Kundalini awakening to ancient Egypt and the sarcophagi as sensory deprivation tanks?
That is a perhaps long story. I'll see if I can be concise about it. There is one revelatory material in particular called the Law of One. In there, it talks about the pyramids as being places for sensory deprivation. And I figured, okay, let me see if this has any legitimacy to it and play this out. And I guess as a result of a number of other aspects of the research I've done in these various esoteric wisdom traditions and religious traditions, I've picked up a lot of etymological and morphological bits and pieces that I can play with and kind of look at things through different lenses. Basalt was something I know I shared with you, Michael, in Discord, that was a key for me, because in Kabbalah and Merkabah is Ka and Ba, and essentially in every tradition I see some sort of symbolism of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, which those need to be defined, I know. But yin and yang, Shiva and Shakti, Kai and Rho, Alpha and Omega, all of these things are articulations of that. So when my cats are going to decide to fight right now.
RedTailedHawk, man, you're a guy that I feel like I want to talk to. We're at a party right now. I don't think I'd be going until the sun came up. But
okay, can we consult a resident esoteric expert, Michael Hughes, for one last comment before we let him go?
I just want to say one last thing. Next time, I want you to come back and do this again. Let's focus on one little piece of this. I want to hear every piece of the mechanism of these sarcophagi, or
walk us. So basically, you're the hawks and the snakes are important. There's all of this theta brainwave stuff that's important. There's also some research on the sarcophagi. Give it to us in pieces. No.
Yeah, we're gonna be here for a while. So let's break this down into a more bite-sized piece next time. But Michael Hughes, what do you got, man? You are our resident esoteric expert, secretly behind closed doors.
Not too much. Everything that you shared is in line with what I've learned about this world, right? At the core of every major religion is this attempt to resurrect. And really curious. It's always interesting how everyone comes across this and looks into it deeply with their own personal story. And I also get caught up thinking that's also the interesting story, right? There's all this source material that's been there forever. I've been ignoring it forever. What changes one day when we start to really pay attention and see new meaning in it? And I think this is all very, very interesting at this point in time and space. Thanks for for sharing your work with us.
Heck yeah. Hey, by the way, before you go, man, you got a website or anything? You've written up these ideas somewhere, anywhere that people can follow up with you, or just come over to Discord? What's up? Where do we find you?
Find me on DemystifySci's Discord. I'm on Noster. I run a weekly study group on Clubhouse called Flight Club. So you can find me in those places.
Very cool.
Very cool. All right. Thank you, RedTail. We'll see you next time, okay?
Guys,
Thank you.
give RedTail a big round of applause. Come on, guys. Let's give him a hand.
So we have a very small change of plans. We were going to do Ricky Cisco, but Ricky is appearing to have some technical difficulties. So for now, we have Stanislav Eisen. Is that? Eisen. Okay, Stanislav Eisen. You've got 1 minute on the clock. And so 3, 2, 1, hit it.
Hello, Charles, Anastasia. Glad to be here. So when we talk about social problems, we think that we know them too well. Poverty, violence, addiction, poor health, the degradation of human capital, territorial and political disputes, war. We think that we understand what they are. However, we had them for millennia and still were not able to solve them. To tackle those problems, I'm developing social innovation theory. Social innovation theory is a multidisciplinary approach to understanding the forces that drive human behavior in order to create transitional models to better societies and facilitate implementation of social technology for common good. I define term social innovation as a summary of specific decisions and processes that can be borrowed, transferred, and implemented in the contemporary social systems. When we're able to resolve our pressing social issues, when we will be able to develop, let people develop to the highest potential, we will be able to focus on real problems, such as development of scientific progress that will be free from limitations of today's system.
All right, Stanislav.
Come on, guys, come on. Give me a hand. Welcome to the Paradigm Shift.
All right, so that I feel like that falls into the category of if only people just were better.
I'm sorry, only people just what?
Were better.
No, actually, what I'm trying to get here that we need a different approach to social innovation. We need to understand what is it make a society better and what actually creates these problems in a society and how we can address them and what kind of social technologies we can develop to make society better.
What's a social technology?
Social technology, well, for example, I could give you an example. Religion is a social technology.
Okay.
Language, and some extent, it can be a social technology because
sports ball.
Using language as a tool to make people do stuff. And, for example, if there's a semantic part to it because, we're talking English. I'm talking American English because I'm in the United States right now, and basically it's social technology that we can develop and implement. It derives from what we are doing every day and how we interact with the environment and what's the baggage we have, and the thing is how we transfer, for example, one good experience from one culture to another, because there's lots of good solutions, lots of good examples that spend time.
Do you have an example of one of these? Like, do you have a specific example of what you think would actually make things better, or are you just pointing to the fact that we should have them in theory in order to improve our lot?
No.
Or is this a meta awareness that you're drawing attention that we have this ability now to have like a meta awareness of designing our own language to better reflect what we're trying to do? Or what are some things?
That's the part of it, but actually there's the practical solutions that exist and social innovation that done in the different parts of the world, and even with the different groups and for the different projects. For example, there's a problem with homelessness. We can talk about what's the roots of that and how it's addressed, but in different countries it's addressed differently. For example, for a long time in the United States, there were paths to address the homelessness. So they take a person from the street, let them went through some kind of process, getting cleaned up from drugs and etc. like that, and then person get the house. In Finland, they do it the other way. They give person home. They place them in the center of the city. They allow them to interact and go to and get traits and skill and invite them in the community right away. And this is the social technology that were implemented here as well, and it shows lots of good results. So one of the example is I think it's called Housing First. So that's the one thing. If we will take a little bit broader scale, there's a country that called Singapore, and actually I included in. I wrote a book about it. So
why don't you show your book again, really quick? What's your book called? All right. So all these ideas.
Innovation, global experience.
What's the what's the linking theme? If in the way that say. These Nordic countries are addressing homelessness, and how does that overlap? Like, is there a thread here? I still don't have like a unifying thing to hold on to yet.
Okay, so the thing is that we need to understand first what a social problem is and what is social innovation. Because
you're supposed to tell me that. What is a social?
Right,
what is
right.
it?
So no, that's the problem. Because sociologists and people who actually do stuff, and actually they say they do social innovation, they don't understand what social problem is. And social problem is something that span multiple levels and affect multiple levels. It's not individual problem. There's the problem that.
But what is it? Like, what is the root of it?
The root of social problem is that it's in a tradition and understanding of what understanding and interactions that we have that we have in a society. I mean, I understand that a little bit.
This is a little general. This is a little like I think that the spirit is correct, that we have social problems and that there are places that have solved the social problems that we have in ways that are more effective than other places. But is there like some overarching principle that you can use in order to address? Okay, what's that principle?
Yes. In a sentence.
So,
yeah, that's good.
Okay, so if you, for example, if you see some kind of social problem, let's take motor vehicle accidents, right? So you want to get rid of motor vehicle accident. Do you make a car safe, Or do you train people to drive better? Or do you get rid of the cars and go toward bicycles like they did, for example, in Netherlands and Amsterdam? And when you actually, when you there in when you in Amsterdam and just stay there on crosswalk and see how many people drive bicycles and how safe it is, and you just imagine them to be in the cars, and that that show you that this approach is much better than conventional approach. But this has not happened organically, just because just a natural evolution. How they come about is because it was a grassroots movement. Stop kinder. I tried to.
Michael, what's the unifying theme here, man? We got to keep this moving. So, Michael, what do you? Michael's got.
You have.
Hold on one second. I want. Michael's our expert summarizer here, so maybe he can orient me.
Again, I guess I'm enjoying how you're trying to effectively share. I assume that humans aren't very humble in how they learn and enact it, and maybe even not even very conscious of how they learn and enact their practices. And maybe it's a time of our evolution where we get to really, really pay attention to that. And I feel like you're getting at some ideas of how we can best do this, right? How we can best pay attention to each other and learn from different communities. But that's what I've been trying to pick up.
Well, that's a part of it, yes. But for example, if you have a problem and you want to develop solution to the problem, you never start from the scratch. You have lots of good experience, but another obstacle to it that you cannot just transfer something that one culture do to another culture without solving the conflict, solving contradiction.
So this is really interesting to me, right? This is the crux. I had this fascinating lunch with a professor of economics who studied business, and he was talking about how American culture and German culture allowed business to go very smoothly, but American culture and Chinese culture, but it heads massively, right? And so this is makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. So, for example, they try to in America try to implement lots of business culture from Japan, but in a way that they try to transfer it, so their people will be more productive. They treat it as a family. People work and be more like a coherent group, but you cannot just transfer that here because in the end of the day it does not work because their basic culture have different it's more individualistic.
Okay, so Stanislav, what I want for next time is I want you to pick a specific problem that you think has roots in cultural differences, and then apply your theory to that specific problem. As opposed to trying to explain the entire theory at once, have some kind of specific example that you can take your framework and apply it, and then compare how other cultures deal with it, or show how some other way of dealing with this social problem could fix it. Because I want to we got to keep moving right now because we have tons more theories to get through.
There seems to be a theme tonight.
It does. We need specifics. Theorists.
You're not going to explain your whole theory in 60 seconds or even the 10-minute interview. You got to just give us one little piece. And if you're lucky at the end, you take that little piece and generalize it to a few more things. And then we can start to...
Little piece in 10 seconds. Little piece in 10 seconds.
I'll give you 10 seconds.
With drug addiction in Portugal in 2000s. They fix it by switching their perception of drug addict from the criminal to a medical problem.
Okay, let's start there next time. Stanislav, thank you so much.
I can appreciate that.
All right. All right, Ricky, welcome back. After Ricky, we are going to try Eric Ryder again. So Eric, be prepared. Test your camera. Ricky, I'm stoked to hear what you got for us. I got 1 minute on the clock. We got 3, 2, 1. Hit it.
All right, I want to introduce a concept called archetypal forcing. Archetypal forcing is when someone in society is injecting artificial resources and energy, sorry about the light, into a system that will end up causing problems because it needs to be sustained. An example, in Prohibition, it started out as a moral issue and people tried to get people to convert. Then it became legal. But the reason it became legal was because industry wanted to get rid of ethanol and they wanted industry workers working 14 hours a day. They didn't want them drinking. So they had to inject tons of capital to force prohibition. Universe 25, the rat experiment, had 3 variables: endless food, boundaries. That experiment showed that even if you have endless resources, the boundary creates chaos, and boundaries are laws. So whenever a moral imperative starts to become a law, it will cause archetypal disruption, and the patterns will emerge.
All
right,
right,
there it is.
Ricky.
Good to see you again, Ricky.
Good to see you.
Say that last sentence again, could you?
Okay, when a moral movement starts to become legislated, it requires archetypal forcing in the terms of you have to inject artificial resources to create something unnatural, which ends up turning into a behavioral sink, which the Utopia mouse experiment showed. So it's a way of usually when laws are being used in a moral sense, it's really because there's a profit or some kind of power control. So you're social engineering an archetype into society for power or money, but you use morality as the excuse, and then that turns into a behavioral sink phenomenon. And we see it with Prohibition.
Can you remind people what the behavioral sink thing is?
Behavioral sink was an experiment where they put in 8 albino mice into a limited space container that had nesting and unlimited food, unlimited water. The only constraint was space. And in a way, laws are boundaries. Laws are artificial, soft boundaries. And what that experiment showed that is if you are artificially giving them nutrients, artificially pumping them with things they don't have to get and be a mouse, all it takes is a boundary to create societal chaos and destroy everything. And it happens in human societies. The minute we turn prohibition from please stop getting drunk, stop it, please, and then you preach it, the minute it starts to become used in law, it's always by people social engineering to archetypally force an unnatural behavior.
So you're like, the behavioral sink is these like second, third order consequences of having like put this artificial boundary on some natural system, basically. Like there's these fallout effects, and legislation is a way in which we artificially bound things. And so like the prohibition's a really good example of that. I'm afraid to ask almost, but how is this playing out today? I mean, we don't, there's some prohibition.
Could I start with how it's playing out for reference? I was really curious of a law that isn't moral, because I kind of feel like I'm having a hard time figuring out what the boundary of a moral law is versus a law that would be something that you would be okay with, right?
So I don't think it's black and white. I think we need to have some moral laws. The minute you start using morality in a different domain, like maybe apart from like sexual violence, stuff like that, things that are like maybe property rights, the minute you start trying to legislate behaviors from drinking alcohol, right, that they use the moral framework. So I think the moral framework is a fake. It's good on its own, but the minute it starts to be wired into the legal structure, we're creating a Utopia mouse experiment. And I think that the point of the exercise is to recognize it when it's happening in society. So you go, oh, artificial money is being pumped into a system that it keeps taking more power to keep it sustained. You have to keep feeding it and you have to keep the boundary. Despite not getting what you actually want out of it, then you know you're archetypal forcing and you know you're going to get a behavioral collapse in that ecosystem, so to speak.
What was the behavioral collapse that came as a consequence of prohibition? Was it just like mob takeover?
So, so essentially, they were poisoning people. They were poisoning the alcohol, and like 10,000 people died. They had it created the entire early mob syndicate. All of the gangs all modern gangs originated during Prohibition. It was the
and this is like kind of what's playing out with like fentanyl today or something, maybe, right? Where you just
right, because if you look at the Utopia mouse experiment, you see a set of archetypes rise up in the mice. Weird behaviors spread across. A very small percentage were able to distance themselves and be somewhat normal, but all the other ones engaged in a set of behaviors that were predictable. Why? It's hard, that's a whole other topic, but...
Well, Calhoun's point was that it was density, right?
Yes, and I think he's wrong about that. Because we started going into population. Oh, but the population's too big, and it's space. It's the boundaries we impose, whether psychosocial, soft boundaries, or hard boundaries. And cities tend to sometimes do that, which is why you get urban decay, is because...
It's really hard to leave a city once you're in it. I noticed that.
Hard.
Yeah, it's like, honestly, I could count the number of times. I lived in New York for 5 years. I probably left like 4 times or something, maybe 5.
One of the weird things about Universe 25 was, even though space was the what leads to the decay, after that kicks in, you'll have whole empty compartments where you could still go and nest that won't get used, and all the rats will avoid them.
Okay, so you basically...
Urban blight.
So you think that there's like a parallel. So in the behavioral sync Calhoun experiments, he basically showed that the mice, I think it was mice, or was it rats? Do you remember?
Albino mice, I believe.
So basically, the experimental animals would gather and engage in like feeding behaviors at troughs that had lots of other mice. And so any of their normal experiences were kind of overwhelmed by this like critical mass of other animals. And so what you're saying is that like the boundary conditions that in that case are spatial can also be modeled as social boundary conditions. When there's too many laws that are trying to govern people's behaviors, that they then also create the same sort of stressful kind of collapse conditions.
Exactly. I think you get what's interesting is in in the experiment, you had some mice called the beautiful ones who would just go and isolate themselves, not breed, and just groom themselves. Other male mice would form gangs and just go around cannibalizing. Endless food. They're just going to start eating each other. The range of behaviors is fascinating, and you sort of see this like, the reason why I use the word archetypes, and I think it's important because you could frame this in a million different ways, is because the essence of archetypes is that these are patterns that govern reality at scales. So if you look at Michael Levin's work, with seeing how electricity can dictate regeneration, I think these archetypes scale, and I think the better we get at articulating them, we can see the patterns across different scales, wherever that may lead at some point.
Some vague predictions lodged there. I like that.
Michael, do you have any thoughts?
Well, it'd be cool. By the way, if I don't say anything else, it'd be cool to see you build this out at another scale in the future if you come back next time. Michael, what do you got?
I was just hanging on to the different scales, right? I deal with water and osmotic pressure, and it's this thing that I feel like also is macroscopically observable and measured on a big scale, but also changes behavior at the atomic level, clearly at some level. And so I'm curious, as people are using your idea of archetypes to untangle the world in their lives, what scale do you think they should start at? to pay attention to?
Good question.
I think you should start at the somatic scale, your body. Everything starts with your body because, you know, your thoughts can dictate how your body, you know, how your body feels dictates how your mood is a lot of times, right? So
and the other way around. It's kind of annoying that it works both ways.
Exactly. So I think it has to be your body 100%, and then I think once you go from there, you're kind of in a clean slate to go up from there. And I think probably the second would just be like listening to your conscience and just having a relationship with your conscience. I think that's something not taught, is that you have a conscience that is always going to give you its best, what you should do, even if it sucks. And I feel like we're bad at building a relationship with that. I think that's what God is in a sense, but
say that last part again. You think that's what God is?
I think that's related to God. I whether not as a reductionist, not like saying that's what we think is God, but I think that is, if there was a purest form of saying like how do you connect to God, it's just connect with your conscience.
Like
because it's the weirdest little thing that we have that.
Like aim for good.
The sense of like, am I doing what I should be doing at this point in
oh yeah, we always have a part. You know, I mean, this was a big Jordan Peterson talking point, was just you have to. There's a voice in your head that will usually tell you what you're doing wrong.
I should probably stop eating these benzodiazepines or something like that.
Yeah, I know.
Leave Jordan alone.
My doctor told me to do it though. Okay, Ricky, I love you, man. It's always good. Let's get you back here again. Let's develop this some more. I thought this was an improvement upon last time. I really appreciate you coming by.
A quick shout out, my friend. I was telling him archetypal forcing, and he goes, "You mean ontological rape?" And
oh God,
laughed so hard. He has a really good channel called No Hylics Allowed. His name is Richard Rauch, and I hope I got his name right. But he has a really good esoteric channel.
All right,
he dives into amazing stuff. So
hell yeah, tell him to come by sometime.
I did, and I'll send him your way.
Awesome,
excellent. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Ricky. Guys, let's give Ricky a hand.
So, thank you.
Who do we got up next? Thank you, Ricky.
We got Eric Ryder and Troy Paselka's on deck. Technical difficulties, everyone. Bear with us. Alright, Troy isn't coming, Eric isn't coming. Next up we have Keryn Johnson. Keryn, you ready? I'm promoting you to panelist. You have been moved to the front of the pack. All right. We got Keryn Johnson. We got a minute on the clock. 3, 2, 1. Hit it.
The problem is the asymmetry in cosmology, the missing antimatter. The solution is to consider the problem with using fractions and adding and looking at it in a different way, using whole numbers and multiplication. The outcome from doing this is a new statistical model for quark charge calculations. And what that provides is a way of identifying a helium Bose-Einstein condensate singularity as an initial structure at the beginning of time, corresponding to a large singularity rather than a one-dimensional one, enabling the identification of dark energy and dark matter through an alpha particle emission system. I'll leave it there.
All right, Keryn, thank you. That is a lot of physics terms that I'm not as familiar with. But...
You're our resident astronomy and cosmology expert, so I just...
Oh, is that what we're doing? Sorry. All right.
I actually had kind of a question when I was hearing you talk about this problem. So you got to, as you were saying, the problem is you, instead of using fractions and adding, that we use whole numbers and multiplication. So this kind of struck me as the idea of like a mathematical transform, right? If I'm doing a Fourier transform, I'm looking at the same thing, waves and frequencies, but highlighting different parts of it, right? Is that how you see this as kind of like a mathematical transform that gives more intuition of cosmology, or how? Why do you highlight that as the problem?
Well, we know that charge as an elementary charge is 1.602 e to the negative 19 coulombs. So charge is a normalization of that particular number to enable exploration of proton and electron charge. So by looking at things in a different way, we can see different things. So if you look at an up quark rather than as a charge of plus 2/3, look at it as a charge of -1, and use the idea of 2 up and 1 down in a proton, then by multiplying 2 negatives, you get a positive, times by another positive, you still get a positive proton. But in that approach, you get a negative neutron, and you can introduce positrons back into the model, enabling you to see a baryonic symmetry system rather than an asymmetry system.
What problem are we addressing here? Maybe we should start there.
What we're addressing is the missing antimatter in cosmology.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, we should maybe next time we start with.
He did start there.
Oh, really?
Start there.
Oh, damn it! I'm sorry. That's what happens when the band participates in the discussion. God. All right. I'll go back to my pit. Nastia, help.
Okay. So
how dare you call me the physics expert? You're writing a physics book with me right now.
I'm working the technical details of the chat. Keryn, how are you, like, why fractions? Like, you just said something that to me seems completely inexplicable. You said that if you have a charge of -1/3, you should treat it as a charge of +1.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? If you have a fraction-based model, which is what the standard model uses to determine the proton charge of +1, right? A -1/3 for a down quark, plus 2/3 for an up quark, 2 up quarks, 1 down quark, add them together and you get +1. And in the model that I've been using, which is a supersymmetry inversion model, it's like if you have a way of looking at a pinhole camera, right? A pinhole camera inverts the image. So the structure of the image is upside down. And the concept is really the human retina point inward. So we see our dreams at night with our eyes closed. The rods and cones are inverted. They're on the inside, not the outside. So the evolution of human biology is the basis for being able to see dreams. Those concepts align when we take into consideration the functionality of the inversion of imagery associated with the electromagnetic field as the force of light within the structure of the atom. So you have to take into consideration where the quarks are and with respect to the electron.
I am deeply confused.
Michael,
You will be. You will be.
you got a book or a blog or somewhere that you've
Yeah,
laid?
I've
This
got
is
a few
highly
papers,
technical.
A couple of websites.
Okay.
I make a technology that would be considered a little bit strange because it's an atomic starlight housed in an aromatic ring system for healing and regeneration. So my kind of background is,
You want to tell people where to find out about this stuff?
yeah, the product website is ohbehave.co.nz. So ohbeehave.co.nz. The science model is qbri.org. So it's Quantum Biology Research Institute, based down in Wellington, New Zealand. So
Is there any people?
Sorry?
Are there any footsteps of thought that you're following in, that you're building on, or did you do this mostly on your own?
I had an out-of-body experience back in 2013, which showed me subatomic structure.
Whoa, I would have led with that.
I didn't want to completely go to time travel.
That's crazy. So, were you smoking a hash pipe? Like, what happened? How did this happen? Were you just walking down the street? Were you in traffic?
Going up to communion at church.
Whoa.
And got transfixed by Christ on the cross, and had my mirror neurons fire and my body put into the structure of a paper mache figure of Jesus on the cross at the back of the church. And all of a sudden, my aromatic ring broke open, releasing about 30 years of information and trauma that I had from childhood. So it was a deeply kind of profound spiritual experience that showed me a 2-meter sphere of golden light in front of me and 2 small spheres on either side. And,
my goodness. And were you already mathematically oriented before this, or this was...
No, I've got a PhD in biochemistry, a master's in molecular genetics, and a BSc double major plant microbial sciences and biochem.
So you've been to school?
Yeah. But biological sciences.
So as a biological scientist myself, I was curious about how you're employing this idea of an aromatic ring. You said your aromatic ring broke open in reference to your experience, but you also claim that this is involved in your technology as well. And so I know it as a chemistry term, right? Like conjugated carbons and the nuclide bonds in an aromatic ring. How are you using? Yeah,
there's a beautiful symmetry in the radius of the aromatic ring. It's 0.139 nanometers or 1.39 e to the negative 10 meters. And the age of the universe, 1.39 e to the plus 10 years. So I've developed my model on the basis of the experience that I had. And it showed me the decay in alpha particle emission of hafnium, 156.72, and a 43-year kind of download. So, but out there.
My goodness. All right, Keryn, we're going to move it along. This is quite a download. Your story sounds fascinating. I wish we were hanging out for the rest of the evening. I would pick your brain some more. Sign up again, come back, and we'll try to develop it. Give us a bite-sized piece, and we'll dig into it. But yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you, Keryn.
Who we got up next over here?
We got Eric Ryder. welcome. It is good to see you again. You're looking well. I got a minute on the clock for you.
Yeah.
And so 3, 2, 1, hit it.
Well, I hope you can hear me. So it's about quantization and quantum mechanics. The dominant paradigm of matter and energy is that it's quantized, that it always shows up in cups worth. So I do a skit with cups to try to get across what I'm talking about with thresholding. If you think everything is quantized, it's always a full cup or an empty cup, but nothing in between. So my experiment is like starting with a full cup and saying it's a rule. You don't see what happens until it all spills over. But there could be something partially filled that you don't know about until it spills over. So my experiment is set up where I start with 1 and I know it's 1. There's a way of telling that it's a emission of 1 at a time. I do it with alpha rays and gamma rays or gamma ray. Other people have not done that. I'm the only one to do the experiment with alpha or gamma. Everybody else does it with visible light, and they all get the wrong answer. They don't see through the illusion that I'm showing. So you start with 1, you throw it over this way, and there's 2 that are receiving, 2 detectors. And then it goes, oh, now we're full, and now we're going to spill it all over. And you get 2 for 1. You start with 1, and you get with 2. How do you get 2 for 1?
All right. Thank you. Let's develop this a little bit. Guys, give him a hand. Come on. Let's give him a hand.
A minute already?
Eric read it. Yeah, time flies, man. It goes faster every year. So Eric, I love this. So you're developing this threshold model. It's actually a really cool idea. I've come across some variations of this before I met you. We had you on the podcast a while back. Your basic idea is that, look, there's nothing spooky or crazy about the fact that, light is perceived as quantized, or in the case, these particle beams or whatever. It's just that
it's very spooky.
Is it spooky?
It is spooky.
It doesn't seem spooky the way that you explain it.
It's very spooky that particles can act like waves. And that's the problem I'm resolving. It's not just a theory.
I see,
I'm
yeah.
just acting out a skit for my experiment.
I just want to make sure everybody understands the gravity of what you're laying down. Michael, have you heard Eric Ryder's ideas before?
No, this is actually new to me.
Does it make sense, this threshold model of quantization?
I think that we were just about to get to the punchline of how 1 becomes 2.
Yeah, right.
So I think
threshold model to replace the idea of quantization. I'm not trying to explain quantization. I'm showing how quantization misses the point, that it's wrong, that everything is really thresholded, but you do not see the sub-threshold unless you do my experiment. Now, the threshold idea will look like quantization in all the other experiments, except mine. So I showed the distinction in real experiments in the lab where I split atoms and gamma rays, and I get 2 for 1. It's a 2 for 1 effect.
That's almost as cool looking as my modular synth rig over here. No, but I want to make sure, Eric, give me a second, man. I want to make sure everybody follows this because it's a brilliant idea. The basic idea, just Michael, tell me if you track with this. The idea is you have, quantum physicists are always we shined 1 photon at a time on this detector and it shows up 1 at a time. Eric's no, what you're doing is there's some energy that you're pumping into maybe several atoms at a time, but they only are going to do that light emission thingy once they filled up the cup, to proverbially by analogous, the water filling up the cup is the energy as it's getting charged, and then it snaps when it reaches the threshold. Right. So the quantization isn't some crazy weird quantum spookiness. It's just that you're snapping over the threshold of action which is actually closer to in line with Max Planck's idea, from what I understand, with the quantum of action in the first place.
Max Planck had a second theory in 1911 that is the same thing. It's a threshold model, but people didn't take off on it. He had his action constant as a maximum. And that's the elaboration of my theory to understand how this could be. If you start with thresholding action, you could do the same thing. I did the same trick as Planck did, but with charge and matter, to realize that thresholds and ratios of those thresholds can explain the experiments of all the wave-like experiments. They have these ratios. And it's really that the ratios of H to M and E to M and H to E is the ratios are quantized, but that the constants H, E, and M are thresholded, the way Planck did in 1911. So I'm expanding on Planck and then developing the experiments to show that it can't be quantized to see the result of my experiments that I've done hundreds of times with matter and light.
Michael, you got to check out this dude. Has he has one of the most underrepresented YouTube channels in terms of like how deep he's going with this single idea, which I actually really admire. Does this make sense to you, Michael, at all? Are you tracking on this?
I think so. So first of all, thanks for pointing out to me. It's something I should pay attention to. I'm very fascinated. So when I went through Quantum for Babies, which is biochemist, it was kind of like, yeah, there's like quantum of light, and then the atoms will absorb or not emit them. So I think that this is throwing it backwards, where it seems like the atoms can absorb many type of light, but when you emit light from an atom, it really depends on the structure as to what quanta is emitted, if I'm tracking appropriately, right? And so there's like a different kind of way that you can abuse the atom's physics if you're aware of this. And you are alluding to people mess this up in the visible range, but get this right in gamma.
I'm the one who got it right with gamma. I'm the only one to do it with gamma, to do the beam split coincidence experiment with gamma rays and alpha rays. So what's going on is that there's an initial emission, that there is a discontinuity only at the moment of emission, but thereafter electromagnetism will spread like a wave. Light is just classical. And on the absorption, there's a loading up till it reaches a threshold, and then it shows itself. When it reaches the threshold, it all spills over, and it gives the illusion that a particle hit this. And
So are all atoms in a substance in various states of plenitude?
Yes. Yeah, they could be partially loaded.
Is there a way to get a substance to a point where all of the atoms are equivalently loaded?
Maybe.
Like a laser?
So far, I was able to develop my experiments to a spectroscopy to see effects in material science.
Would this be a Raman type spectroscopy, or do you think that this runs into Raman spectroscopy at all?
It's
as a way of measuring preloaded atoms?
Maybe there's some way of doing that. But look, it's my own photon violation spectroscopy that I'm talking about, and particle violation spectroscopy. So the details of the experiment show like properties of gold when I split the alpha ray onto gold, like different strains of gold show up in the effect differently. And when I split gamma rays, I'll bounce it through materials and I'll see the property of material. So I've developed it to a useful spectroscopy. It's its own thing. No one's done anything like it because they think that it's all quantized. Like,
you look really, really good for years of messing around with gamma rays, Eric.
It has been. I've been doing this experiment since 2001. But the hard part really was the theory to figure out how it could be that a matter wave can transmit its identity. It's not like its frequency. It's that the ratios are conserved, the properties of the matter wave that can spread out. And so that's more detail where I show slides that show pictures of this. But yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Michael.
Does your way of looking at these systems allow for some cheats that most people wouldn't expect from quanta? And what I'm kind of wondering or getting at is that most of the time when I handle light, I put into my molecules a high power of light and I look out a lower power of light, right? It's always absorbing a higher power light and emitting a lower. But because of your way, is there a way where you can receive a higher energy emission than you put into it.
Maybe you're talking about up conversion and down conversion. You start with, instead of higher energy, think of higher frequency. It's really higher frequency that's going on that you read in your instruments. So yeah, there is such a thing as up conversion and down conversion. That's known. I just look it up someplace. You'll find it.
Eric, I think we need to have you back on the podcast. It's been years. I know you've been working hard. Let's have you back, and we'll explore all these ideas with the luxury of time and detail.
Eric, in the meantime, can you tell everybody the name of your YouTube channel? You got all these experiments. It's freaking awesome.
Thresholdmodel.com to start with.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
That's the place to go.
Links are all there to the papers and other videos and stuff.
Cool.
Right.
All right, man. It's always a pleasure. Let's sit down for a longer period of time. This wasn't quite enough, and I think your work's incredible. So, all right, man. That's how it's done. What do we got next, Nastia? Thank everybody. Give him a round. Let's give. Come on. Where are we at? Guys, come on. All right. There it is.
Thank you so much, Eric. Troy, you are up, and then after that we have Zarrin. Troy, I got you. Okay, so I'm going to put a minute on the clock. It's good to see you. Constantly in the YouTube comments section. You have strong opinions about everything we've ever done.
Oh, yeah.
3, 2, 1. Now it's our turn.
Good. Many people believe that morality is subjective, but that gives it too much credit. Moral claims, even interpreted subjectively, are not even capable of being wrong because they're incoherent. That they nonetheless deeply affect us is highly destructive, and the world would be a better place without morality. Morality's incoherence becomes clear when one examines dictionary definitions of moral terms, which, like most dictionary definitions, accurately reflect real usage and meaning. Unlike other English words, the definitions of moral terms are completely circular. Just means right, right means moral, moral means just, and so on. Nowhere are these words ever mapped to perceivable phenomena of any kind. This means that when we say something is just or unjust, we are not saying anything with coherent meaning. To the extent that we attempt to recover coherence, we may convert moral claims into preference statements, but we all know that when we say something is immoral, we intend to say something more than when we say, for example, that we don't prefer chocolate ice cream. And that more that we mean to communicate is not simply heightened intensity of preference, but we can't say what it is.
All right.
It's Troy.
It is.
We're doing the Republic today on Paradigm Drift.
So, I mean, my first thought is, first of all, those are really important points you point out. There is a lot of circular definitions. Actually, this science itself, physics, suffers from the same thing. I have heard some good attempts outside of the textbooks at universalizing these moral terms. But my real question is, like, what would a world without any attempts, even a failing attempt at morality, look like?
Yeah, well, there's different worlds that could look like. But a world where people are well educated and we're moving beyond morality instead of just pre-morality, right? It might look like a less violent world. For example, most murders are committed, in my brief research and estimation, because somebody believes that they are right to kill somebody, and often because somebody else did something wrong. That could be extended to wars, of course, also. And there's all kinds of other dimensions where we might listen to each other better because we're not sure that we are right. So we can actually hear that, we can understand that we have preferences and others have preferences, and we could just talk about those preferences with each other.
But wouldn't you agree that we all have the preference that, like, nobody kills anybody? Isn't that a reasonable universal preference?
One, absolutely not, because people kill people all the time. So in their revealed beliefs, they apparently don't believe that. But two, to the extent that we could say, yeah, everybody believes that, that's fine. We can all share that preference. Great. Okay, but it's somebody that didn't share that preference, somebody that is in favor of the death penalty or a certain war or whatever, is expressing a different preference. And we can talk about them with that preference, the effects of that preference, the causes, etc., without saying that we are right and they're wrong, and getting into basically core emotional responses that don't involve reasoning and dialogue.
So you think that each time that we encounter a situation, we have to, like, reason our way from the ground up to figure out if it's right or wrong?
We have memory. No. Well, we can't. It doesn't mean anything to say that it's right or wrong. Okay, so that I don't even talk about that. But to figure out whether we should do it, like it, prefer it, want it, etc. No, because we have memory. We've already done it many times, and we can also trust others' preferences. We don't have to, but we don't have to use morality to have things that are set. Although we should be able to reconsider things and discuss things when necessary.
So I was at first trying to wonder what morality gets replaced with, but it sounds like that's not what's going on at all. In fact, that we just refine our language to understand that when we're talking about morality, we're almost certainly talking about personal preference, and that we should just label it as such. Is that what you're...
Exactly, except we're not talking about our personal preference, but we don't know what it is we are talking about because it's nothing. There's nothing there. It's just personal preference dressed up as something that's unquestionable. And
well, isn't it universalized? Isn't the whole idea that it's first of all enforced and universalized? Like, it seems like a good idea. Like, I used killing as an example because if you kill me or my wife, there's no way back from that. I can't enforce my own preference. You've taken away my ability to enforce my own preferences. And so your violation of my consent to this action is cataclysmic. And everybody kind of agrees that that's so cataclysmic that we universally should avoid that. We prefer to avoid the exercising of that power on somebody else. And that seems like a reasonable thing. Like, it's probably not an accident that every society on Earth has developed some system of protecting people from getting murdered, variably, right? Depending on their class and so forth.
Sorry. Yeah, it does seem reasonable, and that's why we have harsh punishments. And people supported the death penalty for a long time because, hey, there's no way of coming back. But actually, maybe there is in some cases, and maybe there's not in some cases. But either way, we're just enforcing things that keep us safe, things that keep us able to do what we prefer to do and not dead. Stuff like that. So, but when we add morality to the mix, and I think partly this involves the religious, dark age type thinking about, it used to be that morality was not only a preference, but we knew what else it was. It was, oh, God will put you in hell forever if you transgress this. But now we don't have that. So we don't have really anything else that it is other than preference, but we still treat it like we do. And it causes all kinds of problems, internal psychological problems and interpersonal problems.
Well, okay.
It's by the way, this is one of the deepest topics, and you will have.
This is fun, dude. I like this. I appreciate you bringing this.
Where are you right now?
Oh yeah, you look like you're in a car or something.
In a parking lot in Hawaii, and some of these cars just started beeping. So I don't know if you can hear that, but
it's like something bad is happening outside. I think that you have to structure society according to rules of some kind.
Like, even if it's just the society of your own house or something, it's like when people come in my front door, like, they're not allowed to just start, like, stabbing my friends. Like,
they can go next door and stab all they want?
I guess. I don't care what happens next door. Like, honestly, I mean, I would probably move if that was going on, but... I think that these are set up because they're easy.
Because of blood feuds. Like, if all of the sudden people are going around and rampantly killing, like, this is how you end with blood feuds.
I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying we should express and engage with each other in ways that are not moralistic. We should say, we don't like killing. Please, I'm going to stop you if you come into my house and start killing. I'm going to kill you. But you don't have to garb that in moral language. I prefer that you not do that, and I'm very insistent on that. And I will kill you if you come in and try to kill me. But we don't have to garb that in other language that has secondary consequences that
I got you.
bad and very destructive.
Like you can't kill me, and that's not because it's the wrong thing or it's wrong or something. It's because that's not acceptable in my house, and you're gonna end up getting killed first, probably.
Okay, so check it out.
Because Michael Hughes is gonna be there. He's gonna strangle you for me. So
he's got that long reach that you need for.
Michael never forgets.
So there's lots of cannibalism. I would not want to live next door to a cannibal. It just, like, it would make me feel weird. It's like, you see him on his porch and he's, like, looking at you and...
chewing on a femur or something.
Yeah, I just...
Yeah, this is where our minds go to when we talk about life without morality. But, for example, I live without morality. I'm not a cannibal. And most animals are not cannibals. And most animals don't start slitting each other's throats and whatever, within their own, family groups and stuff. We are not... We've been programmed to think by moral ideology, every moral ideology, not just specific moralities, but morality in general, that, oh, it's just chaos and whatever without morality to keep us in check. But actually, we have our own internal checks and balances and systems of pain and pleasure that we can live by those things and understand what works in society, and on a deeper level and a more rational, less overly simplistic level than any moral ideology gives us.
It's food for thought, man. I think what you're getting at is interesting for sure, and I think that by I think that what happens is that when these moral frameworks are set up in traditional religions are a great example. They become really unappealing in the modern rational age, less and less so every year. And I think it's because they sort of abstract away what's actually happening when you come into my house into this bucket, where it just becomes so abstract and useless that it gets carried around and people are acting out this passion play they don't even understand. And you get really divorced from the actual intentions behind your actions. So like, I think that's really interesting.
But at the same time, I think that the thing that makes this so interesting is that there does have to be a social contract of some kind where you surround yourself by people who have the same, like if you don't want to use the word morality, it's the same preferences.
Law. I mean, you got to go to the grocery store with people you don't know.
Yeah, like you want to make sure that somebody at the grocery store isn't like scoping you to make you into a roast for dinner. Like I'd prefer that. And I feel like...
And I can't bring Michael Hughes with me every time to strangle him, so... So he's my jiu-jitsu bodyguard.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about this.
Yeah, you're everybody who hears this is one of the deepest ideologies that we have. It's deeper than religion. When people lose religion, that's traumatic, but they keep their morality. It's deeper than religion. It's a meta religion, if you like. And nobody that hears it for the first time is going to say, "Oh yeah, that's true." But if you look into it, it is true that it's an incoherent concept that doesn't quite mean anything except for preferences, even though we think it does. And there is a practical desire to hold on to it because, well, what would happen without it? But if we think through it and we develop an alternative that is capable, we can have a better world without it.
Let's imagine that next time. That would be cool. All right, Michael, what you got?
Oh, I was saying I feel like I've heard this concept kind of come up in slightly different language from another person that I listened to, but they are claiming that we don't need a moral world, we need a conscious world. And their way of describing this might follow the lines of like in the subcontinent of India, predominantly vegetarian, also jungle. It's to grow cows and eat that meat is extraordinarily energetically expensive in a place where that may not be like available. So vegetarianism makes a ton of sense right there, right? And that becomes kind of like a moral part of the culture. But then in the Arctic Circle, a vegetarian lifestyle, you will die, right? So the morals are really, really like, it's hard to make a moral blanket that really covers each individual thing. But if you're conscious of us all being in the same entity and organization, and that what you take for yourself does come from somewhere else, that this is maybe a better way of reframing what's right and wrong as opposed to like these blanket rules. And I've heard this said pros as like a conscious or as opposed to a morality based organization.
And right and wrong have different non-moral meanings also, which the language is all mixed up. We mix all these non-moral meanings with the moral meanings in the same word. Just like the word bat means a flying animal, but it also means a wooden bat. But so right and wrong in terms of what is helpful and harmful, that's definitely useful. And then to say that that's morally right and morally wrong, that adds another dimension that's not. Perhaps it could be useful in certain circumstances, but I don't think it's useful anymore. I think we can do something more useful.
Well, let's talk about the something more useful next time. Troy, it is a pleasure to finally put a face to a name. I will think of you every time you give us shit in the YouTube comments. Come back next time.
Don't stop.
I appreciate you guys. And I'm a lawyer, and both my parents met at Harvard, so I'm always very critical, but I don't give as much time to, appreciate and positive feedback. But you guys are doing great work, and that's why I'm always, watching, even though sometimes I'm cringing at Terrence Howard episodes or whatever. But yeah, go ahead.
I appreciate that so much.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys keep giving us hell. We can take it. Troy, we'll see you next time, man. Sign up again. It was good to meet you.
All right.
Guys, give him a hand. Troy Petzoka. There it is. Hey, guys. Come on. All right. I think it's time for us to bring on one last special treat. What do you think?
We got our one last special treat. So, we are bringing our closer. This is the one-of-a-kind character who can only be found in the midst of the Paradigm Drift audience, who travels the world in search of the wildest theories that he can find. This man is named Zarrin Leff, and he's going to present something that I'm sure is going to absolutely blow our minds. And there's no better way to close the 5th edition of Paradigm Drift, where we've had some good theories, we've had some duds. Hopefully this is a process of teaching us for next time what will always be a little bit better and a little bit stronger. All right, Zarrin, welcome. It's good to see you again, man. I got a minute on the clock for you. And so 3, 2, 1, hit it.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. All of my ideas I owe to someone else. In this case, it's entirely to Sir Henry Haworth and the people who he was inspired and learned by, especially Forbes, Murchison, and Charpentier. Glacial ice is well understood. It is a highly viscous, non-Newtonian fluid. It can flow in specific ways due to gravity, but it cannot flow uphill or flow en masse for large distances across relatively flat ground. It cannot exhibit significant basal flow or pluck rocks from its bed or employ itself in digging holes. It does not produce ground moraines in any mountain glacier or the Greenland Antarctic ice sheets existing today, nor is it observed to do any of those other things previously mentioned, which glacial ice simply cannot do. That's it.
Hey, Zarrin Leff, everybody, come on. Guys, come on. This is Zarrin. Guys, come on.
All right, so Zarrin, this is a theory that we did not get to when we were hanging out. And this is the idea that our story about the Ice Age glaciers doesn't totally make sense because the behaviors and landmarks that we attribute to glacial carving cannot possibly be due to the glaciers?
Yeah, this is right up your guys' alley. It's a question of material science. The geologists should talk to the material scientists, although honestly this stuff has been known for 130 years. And it's a question of definitions. When you say Ice Age, is that the same thing that someone else means?
So what is... Oh, go ahead.
But that's a funny one, actually, like the Ice Age thing, right? Because, depending on who you talk to, like the Ice Age is the series of glacial, interglacial, glacial, and there's been a bunch of these, but a lot of people casually just mean like the last time it was cold, and it's like, that's a really broken term.
So does this theory suggest that they were not Ice Ages?
Well, the main subject I cited from Haworth, which is the meat of the issue of the transcendental glacialists, is that ice sheets are said to do things which ice cannot do. And so Haworth used a great term. Steve Crothers can keep his term Fantasyland, but Haworth used a very similar term. He called it Cloudland. So I would suggest that for at least 130 years, geology has been stuck in Cloudland, appealing to transcendental ice, which they say and imagine can do things which it physically cannot do.
Can you give us an example of something like that?
Well, ice cannot exhibit significant basal flow uphill, flow en masse across relatively flat ground. It cannot pluck rocks from its bed or employ itself in digging holes. It does not produce ground moraines, and none of those things are observed to be occurring in the existing glaciers or ice sheets of today.
Well, okay, so let's talk about the moraines, because moraines are the piles of rocks that glaciers are supposed to push in front of them, and then when they recede, you just get all of this broken rock.
Those they make in mountain glaciers and in ice sheets, but a ground moraine is this vast deposit that was deposited under the ice sheets during the Ice Age, but is not found under mountain glaciers or the Antarctic or Greenland ice sheets. It's another word for glacial till or boulder clay or drift. Ground moraine is just another name for that. And these deposits cover large portions of the eccentric areas that Lance Weaver and others for over 100 years have discussed as being the extent of the ice sheets. It's underlain by this ground moraine, but ice sheets can't produce a ground moraine.
Zarrin, can you move slightly so people can see that you don't have a swastika behind your head? People got real nervous in the chat.
Oh.
Not a swastika, a thrifted blanket of some like imperial crust.
Czech or Polish blanket. Right?
Yeah.
Czech. So I was actually, so you're alluding to the model, right? You're talking about the models of ice moving and creating these features being incorrect or alluding to that being incorrect. But are you proposing something else instead leading to these features?
Well, I'm not proposing anything. I'm relying on Sir Henry Haworth, who relied on others, and I don't have any ideas of my own to offer here at the moment, which I think is much needed in science. Citing others is not done enough nowadays. And Sir Henry Haworth had a lot of things to say about that in his first book about why he was basically compiling information in the 1890s. We can do this so much better nowadays. So he compiled an alternative explanation, which is not new, and things have been forgotten so quickly.
What was his explanation?
Since the late 19th century. During the 19th century, there was a lot of study of the diluvial theory, basically that flood waters in a wave of translation produced the drift. And it's become better understood after the glacial theory was popularized by Agassiz as to what exactly a diluvial wave can do. But there had already been this split in geology in the mid-19th century due to this problem with religion and literal interpretations of the Bible, which led geologists to argue against anything that the Bible said. But it does not follow that a literalist interpretation of the Bible means that anything that in there can't be true. Therefore, we cannot have a flood in historical times. There was a flood in historical times according to geologic evidence of the 19th century until the paradigm of uniformitarianism became a dogmatic belief system.
Have you seen Matt Bell's development of this thing? I don't know if you caught the podcast we did with him, but he broke it out for just a second at the end. Do you remember this?
Mm-mm.
He just was going on Google Earth and showing us.
Oh, yeah.
It was really quite interesting. I mean, I don't know if he's right or what, but he was just showing if you look at the west coast of the continents, there's this salt wash inward that's pretty homogeneous across all of the continents. And I was like, I don't know. It was cool looking. I have no idea if he's right or not, but it was an interesting theory, and it kind of feeds into the Hapgood stuff if you're into that, and maybe some sort of weird crushed shifty stuff. Lance Weaver. I don't know. There's a lot of people pointing to these kind of things, and planets obviously do shift their axes. I mean, Uranus is on its side. That's weird. It happens sometimes. I don't know if it's happened here, but I don't see why it couldn't have. Michael, what do you got? I thought you were about it. Yeah.
Oh no, I was actually just laughing at the trauma that Uranus tells us that our system all went through, right? Just rolling around the one side, right?
It's not a good look.
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah, the asteroid belt. But no, I didn't have too much to say. I think that this is fascinating. You did have an answer of something that takes the place of these observations, and it is this other big, event that it seems has fallen out of favor of the scientific community, but it's making a roaring comeback in certain ways of being able to explain some things that we don't see. So I and find it kind of fascinating. I'm never knew too much about water and geology and how what can be pushed up a hill or what can't be pushed up a hill by water and rocks and all that. And I think so it's hard for me to have any say or interest. I'm curious if how far did some of these pieces travel? in
Hundreds of
these mega floods, hundreds of miles.
Boulders of many tons traveled hundreds of miles.
So the glacial erratics that are like the leftover. So basically, like glacial erratics would be due to floods as opposed to glaciers moving them.
Yes, perhaps some were rafted on icebergs, but the math is easy to do on a wave of translation as to what speed of current will move a mass of a certain size and what kind of earth upheavals would be needed to generate such a wave. This was done in the late 19th century, and it's not that crazy. It's like if there's any kind of earth expansion, this is very easy to imagine as a side note. But I would mostly encourage that it's nice to go on Google Earth now and to think about these new catastrophism ideas. But I've looked into catastrophism for a while because I'm a hiking guide and something didn't add up to me and I'm weird, and so I question the narrative. But it took me a long time to find a thread back to the history of science, and it's Sir Henry Haworth. And I think if somebody nowadays is not referencing him, then there's no connection to the history of science. And I think it's a problem. It should happen, and I think specifically Sir Henry Haworth was the transition in geology into cloudland.
I want to go read it. Sounds cool.
Sure do.
Let's do it. I think we got to close it down, though, guys. This is we've gone 20 minutes over where we were hoping to be, but I think it was well worth it. Zarrin, it's always great to see you, man. I hope the rest of your travels were fantastic after we saw you last. And geez, Michael, thank you again, man, for being here. Everybody, I don't know, guys, let's give yourselves a round of applause. This was freaking awesome. Paradigm shift number 5. This is, we're still in our infancy. We're figuring it out. Everybody's learning how to talk. We're all getting better at it. And that is the point of what we're doing here.
All right. Thank you, theorists. Thank you, Zarrin. Thank you, Michael. We'll see you guys next time. See you next month. Same place, maybe same time. We'll figure that out.
Thank you two for putting this together. It's cool to be able to practice all this with each other.
Yeah. All right. See y'all next time.
Good night.